You know, some people think Shakespeare was a conservative. And from a political perspective, I can see where they're coming from. His plays pretty consistently support the established political hierarchies and regard rebels and dissidents with suspicion. The status quo is good and therefore moral. This deference to authority makes sense. Shakespeare was financed by the highest echelons of the established elite. I mean, people like Queen Elizabeth and King James. So he had a financial interest in maintaining that status quo. Writers just want to keep our patrons happy. But from a social perspective, I wouldn't exactly call Shakespeare a conservative. Home Skillet was all about the rebels and dissidents. Take Oberon and Titania, the king and queen of the fairies in A Midsummer Night's Dream. They're married, but they both got some action on the side. Oberon has something going on with both Hippolyta and Philydia, and Titania knows it. But don't feel too bad for Titania. She's got something going on with Theseus, and Oberon knows it. And that's even before Oberon drugs Titania into a relationship with a literal ass named Bottom. And the less said about whatever they've both got going on with that Indian boy, the better.
We don't have time to unpack all of that.
There are different ways to interpret Oberon and Titania's apparent non-monogamy, and artists and academics debate those interpretations to this day. Personally, I prefer to read their tiffs as banter, and give all this extramarital tomfoolery a playful spin. The fact that they both know about everything that's going on, kind of spells out consent to me. My point is, non-monogamy is not a new conversation. Shakespeare was exploring these questions way back in 1595. Today, there are tons of books and videos that look at ethical non-monogamy from a sex-oriented perspective, but I mean, come on, sex is what the whole rest of the internet is for. You guys come to my little corner of the dumpster fire for spanking stuff. So what does non-monogamy mean in a spanking context? Let's talk. Question 1. What is spanko cheating? To understand ethical non-monogamy, first we need to understand unethical non-monogamy. That means cheating. We live in a sex-centric society. All of our social mores about things like fidelity, cheating, and relationship ethics also revolve around sex. But fetishists exist in a societal blind spot. All of these implicit relationship rules were not designed with us in mind. That means it's way too easy for spankos in otherwise monogamous relationships to say, it's just spanking, it's not sex, to rationalize sneaking around on unsuspecting partners. They tell themselves they're not cheating because in a sex-centric society, it's easy to pretend the definition of cheating is sex-centric too. But it's not. Cheating suffers from the same misconception as BDSM in general, that it's just a sex thing. That's not true. Cheating, like BDSM, can involve sex, but doesn't necessarily have to. Cheaters are easy to define, and they're the same if you're obsessed with spanking as they are if you're obsessed with sex. Cheaters ignore relationship boundaries and limits. I come down really hard on cheating. I don't cheat, and I don't think cheating is cool. And I think this issue should be really important to all of our community, because the last thing we need is BDSM practitioners who ignore boundaries and limits. Question 2. What is spanko non-monogamy? In my opinion, there are 3 kinds of spanko open relationships: play, disciplinary dynamics, and romance. Let's take these one by one. For most spanking fetishists, play is really casual. It's chill. So chill, in fact, that I know a lot of people are already bristling at my opinion that play is even a form of non-monogamy at all. In the spanking community, we kind of cling to the idea that a couple who plays with other people at spanking parties is still monogamous, just so long as there is no sex involved. I get it, in the past I've clung to this belief too. But the problem is, that idea reinforces the sex-centric status quo. It lends legitimacy to the myth that spanking is non-sexual behavior. And that idea is extremely dangerous for socio-political children's rights reasons that keep me up at night and are the whole damn reason behind all of this personal and professional self-immolation. Don't worry, we are going to get to that. This myth also supports the outlook that cheaters use to rationalize their cheating. If spanking occupies the place in the lives of fetishists that sex occupies in the lives of most people, which it does, then ethically and consensually playing at spanking parties is... I mean, it's a lot like swinging, to be honest. We're interacting in the way that is, for fetishists, the most meaningful and important exchange of physical intimacy that we have. Doing that with a bunch of different trusted friends is freaking beautiful, but... I mean, come on, guys. It's not the most monogamous thing in the world, is it? The best I can give you is this. It's monogamish. Like I said, for most spanking fetishists, playing with other people is so common and casual that it barely even registers as non-monogamy. So most spankos draw the line at disciplinary dynamics. Disciplinary dynamics are consistent, ongoing relationships where one person regularly monitors another person and enforces goals and infractions with spankings. Most monogamish spanking fetishists I know are totally comfortable with casual play, but don't consent to disciplinary dynamics outside their primary relationship. To them, real discipline just feels like a degree of intimacy that they don't want to share. For other people, however, real discipline is something they need to receive or enforce, but they just can't do it with their primary partners for whatever reason. So it makes sense for them to get that experience elsewhere. My point is, if you're talking about opening a relationship up in our own special spanko way, this is a potential limit and boundary you'll want to clearly define. Are you looking for casual spanking play at parties? Or are you looking for a more consistent, ongoing disciplinary dynamic? In either case, please remember, if you mutually agree to a relationship limit and then violate it, that's not ethical non-monogamy anymore. That's cheating. So please think carefully about what your needs and limits really are. You have to be honest with yourself so you can be honest with your partner. Finally, of course, some spanking fetishists consensually have full-on romantic relationships with multiple partners. Sexual and romantic polyamory have been well discussed, so you don't need me for that. But I'll link to a good book in the description below. Question 3. Are there any other options? Okay, but what if you want or need to get some fetish needs met outside your primary relationship, but you also don't want to take the risk, even if it's just a small risk, of potential emotional entanglements with play or discipline partners? What then? Here's where I want to give a shout out to professional disciplinarians and submissives. I think they're amazing, and they can be a really wonderful way for spanking fetishists to get some needs met when there are no other options available. Hiring a professional spanko is still a kind of non-monogamy, I guess, and seeing a professional is cheating if your primary partner doesn't consent. But honestly, guys, it barely even feels like non-monogamy to me. I think of professional disciplinarians and submissives the same way I think of therapists. They're mental health support workers, and to be totally honest with you, I think it's as unreasonable to tell a spanko partner they can't see a professional disciplinarian or submissive as it would be to say they can't see a therapist. But, that's just my opinion. I know a lot of people won't agree. Finding a great professional, one who is a real, honest-to-God spanking fetishist, just like you and me, can be tricky. But big national parties in the United States are a good place to start. Just ask party organizers or new friends who are more established in the community if they happen to know anyone who offers professional topping or bottoming scenes. But regardless of how you ethically open a spanking relationship up, whether it's through play, disciplinary dynamics, romance, or professionals, whether you're monogamous, monogamish, kind of open, or full-on poly, the most important thing is to be honest, both with yourself and others. Oberon and Titania are exciting to me not because they're non-monogamous, but because they're open and honest about who they are. They're not trying to hide or pretend to be something they're not. Non-monogamy is not better or worse than monogamy, but honesty is sure as shit better than dishonesty. See you next time. Thank you for watching. If you have feels, tell me about them in the comment section. And do me a solid and subscribe to my channel, okay? If I'm going to be that frizzy bitch who makes spanking videos, I at least want, you know, like more than 200 subscribers.